Okay, here we are, part 15, and we're going to go ahead and finish up working on his superhero costume and work on the goggles, the color of the goggles, and maybe start on his eyeballs. Okay, so back to Photoshop. Turn on my UV coordinates. Let's make his logo a little bit smaller. Oops, gotta grab both of those, I guess. Two separate things. There we go. A little bit smaller. Okay. I think maybe I'll call this guy Captain Blender or something like that. How's that sound? Captain Blender? Do we have any superheroes named that already? No, it's kind of a not very creative name, but you know, whatever. I'm gonna go ahead and do like they did on the new Superman movie costume, and put the logo. Oops, gotta get the correct layer I'm on, and put the symbol on the belt buckle also. There we go. So that's gonna kind of merge together. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make the belt buckle that black color too, but I'm going to put a white circle inside of it. My rulers, get some guides out here so I can see what I'm doing. And right there, white circle. Okay. Okay. Now zoom out some more. Grab the logo, move it up, scale it down. Zoom in some more. Move it. There we go. Turn this off. So back out. Okay. So let's go ahead and save this as a JPEG. Replace it. Yep. Okay. Back to Blender. Grab our guy. Reload. And let's do a test render now. Let's see, F12. Yeah, I like that black belt better. We'll get some better lighting in here. We'll get the shadows looking right on the boots and everything too. So, but for now, we're just messing with the texture. Okay, everything looks good. So now, done with that. Go ahead and save it. I don't know if I saved it last time. Okay. Now we're going to work on getting some color on these goggles. So the first thing we got is the strap. So I want to make a new material for it. Okay. And it's going to be that dark black color, but not shiny at all. A rubbery look. There we go. And going to go into edit mode. Actually, I guess I need to apply that mirror there, don't I? Back to the buttons, editing buttons, and go ahead and apply the mirror. It's got to come out of edit mode first. Apply. There we go. Now back in there. Okay, now I want to make the pads the same color as the band. So select face out of each of those, Control L, go to my colors and grab that color. And since we don't have anything else applied to this particular model, we can apply more than one material. So you do that, and here you go over to where it says link and materials, and it says one matte 1. That means you're looking at material 1 of 1. There's only one material applied to this model so far. So we want to add a new one. So now you're looking at 2 of 2, and it just made a duplicate of that first one. So now I can go into edit the material editor, and I can change its color. And it's not applied to anything, so back to edit mode, and I want to apply it to the hard metallic part. I guess it would be maybe plastic, but we'll call it metal right now. So I'll just select that. And you can see it's also selected the lenses, which we don't want to do. We just want the outer part, but we'll do the same thing later with the lenses. We'll just change their color here in a few minutes. Okay, so as you can see, it went back to 2 materials, but we're on material 1 of 2. So just hit the arrow to the next and hit assign, and it assigns that to what you have selected there. So now it's 2 different materials on 1 model. We're going to go even further. We're going to add 3 materials onto 1 model. So make sure nothing's selected. Hit B, drag it over the ones we're wanting. There we go. Actually, I guess I can just select the loops if I can see which ones they're attached to. There we go. And I guess I'll need the one here. Go ahead and center that so I can cursor to selection C, so I can see where I'm doing a little better. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hide the pads just to get them out of the way so I don't select something on them accidentally. Hide. Now select each loop that I want. Didn't want that one. Oops. I want that one. There we go. Okay. Same thing over here. This one and looks like it's going to be this one. Okay. And these 2 and these 2 vertices. Now, same thing. New material. Go ahead and assign it this time. Go back to the material editor. Change that to just like a gray color. Okay. There we go. So now I can grab this and go into my editor buttons here and arrow back over to the red one, and I can change its color. We don't want red. Really don't want orange, but to go with the motif of this guy's costume, let's go back to Photoshop and select that color and look at its hexadecimal code or something. I don't remember what it's called, but just grab that, copy it, cancel out, back to Blender, grab this color and paste that back in there, and now it's going to give me that exact same orange in its goggles. Okay, so looking good, but I want the lenses to be semi-transparent, so I'm going to go back to that material that they're on, change its alpha down to, we'll say about 0.5, and I want it to have a Z transparency so it shows the skin and whatnot underneath that. Okay, so go ahead and save. Go back to the camera view. Let's go ahead and zoom way in so we can see the goggles a lot easier. Go to top view so I can rotate the camera a little better. Let's go to 3D view over here. It's already in camera mode, so good. Kind of see where I'm going with this. Okay. Okay, now render that out. And it's kind of hard to tell if you can see through his goggles or not. So just to see if it looks good or not, I'm just going to grab those and move them down to where he's wearing them. Except I'm not going to mess with the strap right now. Now let's see what it looks like. You hit F11 to bring your render window back up if you're... Can't really see anything through there. Let's turn it down even further. Go ahead and change color just so we can see if it's... Yeah, that's right. Okay. Okay. Oh, I know what's going on. They're throwing shadows. So the whole inside of the goggles is in shadow. So let's go slide that out. We don't want it to throw shadow. And so we turn off shadow buffer and this guy right here. Okay, so now if we render F12, should show, you can kind of see a little bit in there, but not very well. Okay, you know what, I'm not going to worry about it. He's not going to be wearing them on his eyes anyways, at least not for me. They're always going to be on his forehead. It's part of his... I just do all this, just pop it right back where it was originally. Assuming I have enough undos. There we go. Save it. Okay. Now, let's see. Let's work on those eyeballs. Let's try to get some fairly realistic looking eyeballs. So I'm going to select everything and hide it. And you too, hide. And I want to go into side view and tab in. And I want to select these vertices here. I'm going to shift D and move them out along the y-axis. I'm going to select these two now, scale them on the y-axis -1 times, and I'm going to pull them in to there. Okay, grab these, move them back to where they were. Okay, let's move them a little bit further. Actually, just grab that final edge and extrude it just a little bit, just along the x-axis or the y-axis. Scale it up some. Okay, so now we got our basic eyeball shape. Now we need to texture it. So I want to grab this. Is that part of the actual eyeball? No, that's part of the lens. Okay, Control E. I want to make a seam there. That's where the iris is going to go. And I guess I'll go ahead and put a seam right here too. Control E, mark that. And now I'll do the same thing we did for the body. Turn this into the UV image editor, go into texture paint, go into edit mode, select everything, and go to UV unwrap. And you can see here's the lens that we marked out. Actually, I guess this is the lens, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, this is the lens. It's going to be transparent, so we're not even going to mess with it. We're not going to put color to it or anything. I mean, it'll probably have a white color like the rest of the costume did earlier. But anyways, here's the iris. That's the most important part. Control L to select all that. Scale it way up. It's going to have the most detail. And these guys, this one, these are going to be the whites of the eyeball. So we don't really mess with them that much. Okay. So now I want to scripts, save UV face layout. We don't need it to be 1500. This will be good at 500. So we'll say OK. Now we're going to name it eyeball. Save. And now I'm going to save this, and I'm going to start a new scene. And this is a little trick that I learned in another Blender tutorial. I'll have to get that and provide the link for it so I'm not plagiarizing. But anyways, it's how to make realistic eyes. So just delete the box that's normally there. Make a new mesh, and it's going to be a circle. And it's going to have a lot of vertices this time. Let's give it 150. I want it to fill. Okay. And now the 3D cursor is right there in the center of the scene, and I want to put the light right on top of it. So I Shift S, selection to cursor. I want to pull it up on the Z-axis. Same thing with the camera. I want to clear out any rotations that it has. Alt R, so now it's pointing right, it's directly downward. Shift S, Selection to cursor. Do the same thing as I did with the light. There we go. Go ahead and split this scene up. Go to the 3D view here. It's going to be... Okay, so now we're looking directly down at that circle, and the light is directly above it. So what I'm going to do, I want to tab, select everything, and I want to W. Which one was it? Subdivide multifractal. So click that, and let's give it 3 cuts. Okay. With a random factor of 10, that'll be fine. So there we go. Now we've got that circle with just some random mess. Add a subsurf modifier to it, a couple of layers, and set it to smooth. And now, if we add a color to it, let's give him green eyes. We'll give him. My eyes are brown, so I'll give him brown eyes. There we go. So now we render this. Go ahead and change the color of the world to white. So now when I render this, it looks like the random craziness of an iris. So I can save this now. We'll call it iris. Save. And I can use that as the iris. So it's a nice little way to make a realistic looking eyeball texture. File, open. We'll open up the model again. Work on the eyeballs. Okay, back to Photoshop. Let's open up the eyeball sphere.tga. Added the sphere to it like it did with the plane on the body when we unwrapped it. Also open up the iris. Okay. Select everything, and I want to invert my selection. Grab this, drag it over. A little too big, but it's fine. Better too big than too little. Scale it down. Go ahead and change the fill on it so I can see through it and get it centered up exactly where it needs to be. A little bit further down. There we go. Okay. And just double click on that. And give it a pupil. I'm going to do that by, let's see, it's going to be inner glow. Change it to black. Change the blend mode to normal. And I want it to come out from the center. Opacity 100%. But we're going to choke and scale it way down. Well, not way down, but pretty small. Okay. And also an inner shadow that the distance is 0, but the size and choke come out. Give it a nice rounded edge. And okay. And let's see, let's turn off that, and now Control Shift S, save it as JPEG. We'll call it eyeball. Save. Okay. Back to Blender, and let's go to object mode, and we want to create a new material. Go to the textures, add a new image, and we're going to load eyeball.jpg. Select. Go back to materials. Map input is going to be UV. And that's all the settings we need to do on that. You can see it here. Actually, one thing that I like to do on eyeballs is to also check the CSP, which is the color of the specular map. So we want it to be ultra shiny on the white, but when it gets in the middle, we just want it to kind of light it up a little bit. We don't want it to be that shiny on the center. So, okay, so real shiny. Okay, So now that's applied to that whole thing. But like I said, we're going to add a different texture to the actual lens of the eyeball. So I tab into edit mode, select one of these vertices, Control L, and do like I did with the goggles. Create a new new material, and change its alpha all the way down to 0. Z transparency. This will be just as shiny as the eye. Turn off shadow buffer. Turn off shadows. Okay. And I want to apply it. Let's go ahead and make it a different color too, just so we can see a difference in the viewport. And assign it. Okay, so now let's unhide everything else. Kind of got big irises, but that's fine. Go ahead and delete this sphere. And just grab this one, Shift D along the x-axis, and move it along, and match it up. There we go. Okay, save that guy. Go back to the camera view. Rotate it around just a little bit. If you hit R twice, you can rotate just by moving the mouse, and it rotates just any way you look. Rather than if you just hit it once, it's like along only one axis. So you hit it twice, and you can rotate whichever way you want. Also show some other camera tricks when we get that far. Okay, that's about where I want. Go ahead and render, and we should see some nice looking eyeballs. Okay, looks like it's making them black. It's putting a shadow in there. I think I know why, because these lights are set up to have a ray traced shadow. So I'm just going to turn the shadow off for now on both of those. And now render it again. And there we go. You can also see through the goggles. It looks like we missed a spot on this one. We'll have to fix that. But you can see the eyes look pretty decent. Okay, let me go ahead and fix that part on the goggles real quick. That's going to bug me if I don't. Get out of camera view. There we go. And let me hide that model. Now I can go in here. There we go. Select that ring. Sign. No, I guess I need to select. Where are we at here? So I want to zoom in very close. Oops. Nope. That one. There we go. And that. And now assign. There we go. Now then. Now we're cooking with fire. Alt H, unhide that. Now if we render, should look perfectly fine. Alright. Okay, so I guess we're pretty well done with the texturing segment. Next section, which will be part 16, we will deal with adding some hair and maybe some eyebrows. Okay, well, that's all for part 15. I'll see you in part 16.